What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Malik at Malik's Water Garden. I'm here in front of my L199 Zebra Pleco tank. They're a wild caught group. There's 9 of them in here. There's a giant whale-tailed angel. He's about 12 inches. This is a 30-gallon tall aquarium. It's 30 inches long, 12 inches by 20 inches tall. And all the furniture in here are all from different sources. I'm actually gonna show you guys how to set up a Pleco breeding tank like this. There's 10 tanks around me that are here that are 30 gallons to 37 to 39 gallons in volume, and ultimately over the next few months all 10 of these tanks are going to be converted into Pleco breeding tanks. Several of them are already converted into Pleco breeding tanks. The other ones are right now in the process of being converted. So today I'm going to show you how I'm going to set this tank up here into a Pleco breeding tank for my L471 dwarf snowball Plecos. You guys have seen them in the channel. If you haven't seen them, go back and check out the videos. In the previous videos you can see them. These are my Geophagus redhead tapajos. They're a young group. There's 5 of them in here, and there's another one in the tank behind me, which I removed for it to get put on some more size because it wasn't growing like these 5 were. This is the dominant male right here. They're still young. They haven't spawned. They have been showing a lot of spawning behavior. They might be in the tank as dinner fish for the 471s. Granted, they are not gonna be too much for the Plecos. So what you got to realize is the Plecos should be your primary concern setting up a breeding tank, and any other fish you put in there should be considered dinner fish, although they can also spawn in the tank without a problem. So without further ado, let me show you what I use. The basic furniture, filtration, whatnot. So I run a central air loop in my fish room. You guys know and have seen this. If you haven't, please go back in the previous videos. I will put links eventually to the video here. So the central air loop sends in air into the sponge filters. I have 2 of these. I don't know what size they're. I think they're like size 4 or 5, large size sponge filters. That's my hand. That's how big the sponge filter is. And those 2 are running air. And then on top of that, I have a Cascade corner filter, which I have here. I have these guys on hand. I have several of these that are just sitting in containers. This one actually has a filter in there. It's a Cascade 455 internal corner filter. They also have a 610, and I have the 610s in the larger tanks. And these 30-gallon tanks, or 33-gallon, or whatever size these are, depending on the particular tank, has a Cascade 455 corner filter, which is this guy right here. This is basically for water movement. It does also do mechanical filtration because there's a carbon block in there, as well as there's a sponge in there, so it does polish the water, and then there's a carbon block in there, so it does do some chemical filtration as well. But the thing about the carbon block is you need to replace it every 6 months to a year, otherwise it just becomes inert and just another part of the filter. So having said that, what I use for every one of my Pleco tanks, and this stuff you can buy from Home Depot, which is this right here, is play sand. This is the substrate I use. This is about 10 pounds of it. I have another bucket here that's about another 10 pounds. I'm not using all 20 pounds. I just washed a whole bag, a 20-pound bag. And that's what's in this tank as well. The plants in the back are jungle vales, giant jungle vale. It grows amazingly in the sand substrate. There's a few other plants that do grow well in sand. I will start growing them in these tanks for you guys to also start, taking those in. Anubias is a good option, especially on the caves and stuff. When I have more in my immersed setups, I will move some of those into this. I'm sorry about my dog. She just hormonal. Anyways, so aside from the sand, which is the bottom substrate, the furniture that I use are basic tiles. You can buy these also at Home Depot. It's about $1.30 I paid for these 18-inch by 4-inch tiles. I have quite a bit of these, so I use these. And also these watering spikes you can buy off of Amazon or eBay. They come in packs of 4 or 6. On average, they're about $5 Canadian. I paid $4 to $5 each. I have different shapes, head shapes, as well as the cone shape, and the Plecos seem to like variety, so that's the bottom line. I have quite a few of those in here as well, more in the tanks behind me, which I'm going to use. And then these other caves, this one was a broken one that I glued back together, but I'm using for the video because it does have a little bit of jagged here that I need to sand out before I put this in. So that's another thing to consider. Whatever you do use, make sure it's does not have jagged edges or anything like that. That could hurt the fish, because they do get into these quite a bit, and especially during spawning times, there's a lot of intense activity that happens in these caves. The next thing that I like to use is a piece of driftwood. I don't necessarily use driftwood for all of my Plecos, especially adults. The hype ancestors, certain ones do like to nibble on the wood or eat the film that grows on the wood itself. So for those particular species, especially any of the drawing a blank here. Pecoltias. So any of those Pecoltia vitara and stuff, I do have driftwood in their tank, because they do like to eat stuff that grows off the wood. There's some that exclusively like to eat wood, so you got to use wood for those fish. But depending on the variety, if it's like a hype ancestors usually that likes to eat meat, I only use like maybe 1 or 2 pieces of driftwood. Like in this tank, there's 1 piece of driftwood there. They don't seem to touch it, so yeah, it's there, whatever. But yeah, so there's a piece of driftwood. The sand's gonna go in there, and I'm obviously gonna plant it with jungle vel, and that's about it. And and yes, the Cascade 455 is basically for water movement, because Plecos need high water movement, so that, because they come from river systems, so like, it's good to have a decent flow rate, and this really does provide you with that, and the 610 even better than this. But I also have the 200, I believe, the smaller version for the 20-gallon tanks, and I use them on the 20s and the 15s where I have fry and stuff, and they seem to love this thing. Especially the L46 wild caught ones, they sit on the flow itself. I have my red lizards, the L01As, 010As, so like the red lizard catfish, they like to sit on the filter and on the flow, and I've always found that they usually pick spawning sites that are directly in the flow of the water. I'm guessing that's because there's more oxygen or less more flow, so there's less debris accumulating, whatever. So they really seem to enjoy the flow, so that's something to consider. It's not mandatory. I've seen so many other breeders not use a power head or any other type of water movement device except for the sponge filters. These do provide quite a bit of water movement. I don't know if you can see how much water is moving. I have air driven underground filters in some of the tanks in the back of the fish room, and they do a really decent job. So it's not necessary to have a power head or a corner filter or whatever to provide flow, but it is good to have one. Like, I personally like to, that's my take. So this is how I set up a Pleco breeding tank for hype ancestors and other types of fancy Plecos, the L number series. So if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I will make a video of this tank fully set up once it is set up, so please hit the notification icon, so when I do update with new content, you are updated, and you get to watch it first, and if you have any questions, comments, please share your experiences. How do you like to set up your Pleco breeding tanks? Make a video of your own setups, post it below. I would love to see everybody else's tanks and setups. A lot of this stuff can be bought off of like Home Depot for the basic stuff, and any of the specialty items like the caves can be bought from Amazon or eBay. I also recommend angelfins.ca. That is where I buy some of my supplies. They're a very good company, as well as Gemco, gemco.com.